Hi and welcome to this week's Life Lessons teaching. It's great to be back with you all. In this week's teaching, we're answering the question, is my relationship unhealthy? Now, last week we looked at self-sabotage in relationships and the ways in which we do this. But what if we are stuck with a dilemma? Do I actually have a real problem in my relationship, or is it something that I'm imagining because of my own self-doubts, inner child fears, or unrealistic expectations? Well, in this video, we're going to be answering your questions. Okay, David, so is this a common relationship dilemma for your clients?
I would say so. I would say it's something that I often discuss with my clients because being able to create a really strong relationship is important for us all, because all human beings need to have that kind of relationship. And I always say to my clients, look at the word. The word gives you the clue. Relationships, the ability to relate. And that's where I would like to start this teaching, the ability to relate.
Mm-hmm. And I guess this ability to relate, David, as adults, we have learned from the relationships we've observed when we've grown up, from our childhood, and then so our parents' relationship, our grandparents' relationships of our brothers and sisters, and so that we carry that forward, don't we?
Absolutely. I mean, that is one of the main fundamental kind of foundations of a relationship. Where did you learn your relationship skills from? And Alex is absolutely right. We mirror what we were brought up in, what we grew up in. We see our parents, we see our grandparents, our aunties and uncles, and we see how they run the relationship. And then we do the pendulum. We either copy them and we do the same as them, or we say, that'll never happen to me, I'll never do that. And we do the opposite. And Wu Wei is about you taking responsibility for your relationships and working your relationships on your belief system or your standards.
Mm-hmm. And for David, I guess a lot of people at home will be saying, yeah, I really want to have an authentic relationship. I guess something in this relationship is giving me red light feelings. So they're the uncomfortable, painful feelings we talk about. So concerns, worries, fears, doubts, all of those words. There's something not right here. I'm getting this niggling feeling. How do I know the difference between a problem being created by something I believe, which is inauthentic and unbalanced? So all the stuff we talk about on our other videos. So those inner child fears, doubts, the neediness, the wanting validation. So it's an imagined or created problem from us. And how do we know if there is actually a real tangible problem with our partner or the relationship that needs to be authentically addressed?
And this is why when I saw this question, I thought this would be a good video, because the answer to this, you will not understand and be able to clear up a problem is in the relationship whilst you've got a problem in your own relationship. Remember the ability to relate. And so to start this off in any relationship, whether it's a loving relationship, whether it's a family relationship, whether it's colleagues at work, whether it's friends, you have to build a relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
And as Alex says, if you keep on creating things like unreasonable expectations, too high standards, perfection, self-doubt, all of the things we're going to talk about in this video, it's almost impossible for you to make a judgment on relationships because you're not creating a relationship with yourself. And here's the teaching.
Okay, so if we have to cultivate this healthy relationship with ourselves first and make sure our beliefs about ourselves and our expectations about other people are healthy and balanced before we can then go and relate well to our partner and cultivate a great relationship. If we've had almost like an upbringing where we've been exposed to other people's relationships which weren't necessarily healthy and balanced, how do we begin to create those authentic judgments for ourselves as to what's okay, not okay, when a boundary is a reasonable boundary or an unreasonable boundary?
The golden thread. You start with a golden thread. You start when you get you create an uncomfortable red light feeling, whether that's anger, resentment, jealousy, whatever you want to call it. And that's what I would prefer to give it, a brand name of a red light feeling. Then you ask yourself, why am I creating that feeling? Then you do the why. I'm creating that feeling because. I'm doing this because. Then you get down to the first block, which is normally, it could be in a relationship, well, it's all down to them. If it wasn't for them, then you say, okay, then start the golden thread again. Why is it all down to them? I believe it's all down to them because. I believe this because. And you're going down the golden thread until you get to your core beliefs. Because your core beliefs are the regulation of how you have that relationship with yourself. Remember, it has to start with you. Because if you're not clear, as Alex said in the opening, if you are creating self-doubt, then how can you be clear on a relationship with someone else? It is not their responsibility to come and clear up your self-doubt. It is not their responsibility to be your emotional carer. Can I repeat that? It is not someone else's responsibility to be your emotional carer. You are creating the emotions. It's not for someone else then to come and put out the fire. And if you have that type of relationship, I don't think this is a healthy relationship. This is a codependency. And we've done several videos on codependency. Yeah. And this is what clouds up this relationship issue that we're talking about.
So I can put a link to our codependency in relationships video, which will be helpful for you on this. So that's one. So what you're saying is we start with the red light feelings. Yeah. We then track back to the thoughts and the self-talk. So what am I thinking or believing, or what is my self-talk telling me in this moment? Yeah. So whether it's questioning someone's authenticity, whether they're telling you the truth, whether they're behaving appropriately. And then beyond those thoughts, below those thoughts are the beliefs, which are the core beliefs that drive our thoughts about ourselves, other people, and the rest of the world. And you're saying if our core beliefs are unbalanced and we believe we're not good enough, we have self-doubt, we believe we're unlovable, we believe we're not able to cope without someone else, that then creates, back up the line, a codependent relationship.
Yes, it clouds your judgment. Because if you have a belief that, I don't know, all partners, all men, all women are just out to get you, or they never tell you the truth. If you have that as a core belief, of course, that is the filter that you see any relationship issues through. So you're continually running through that filter, and then you create a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah. Because your partner will say something like, well, if you think I'm doing it, I might as well go and do it, because you're creating that self-fulfilling prophecy. So the number one thing to get the relationship right with other people, you have to get the emotional relationship right for you. We've done literally hundreds of videos. Look back in the archives about how you do the golden thread. You get down to those core beliefs. I'm hearing a lot of my clients use the word standards. I'm not lowering my standards. He's not meeting my standards. They're not reaching my standards. I would say standards are the same as belief. Write down what your standards are. Write down what your core beliefs are, and ask yourself, do I really believe that? You know, I say to my clients, and they laugh at me, I say, let's think of a standard. Perfection. It should be perfection. And I say to them, well, why don't you start your own YouTube channel? Perfection is accessible, is achievable. You can reach perfection. I'll show everybody how to reach perfection. And they laugh. But actually, if that's what you believe, you should be promoting that. And that's the key with these core beliefs, these standards. They're so down deep inside of you that you're not taking responsibility and you're not owning them. If you believe something, you can believe whatever you want to believe. Make sure, I say it on every video, what do you believe? Why do you believe it? So you've got to get past, first of all, the relationship. It may not be working well. You've got to understand why you believe it's not working well. Have you got a good relationship with yourself? Can you view this relationship? Can you make a judgment on the relationship, not judgmental on the person.
Yeah. So we get down to the belief, we check in with ourselves and say, is there self-doubt fueling this problem? Is it inner child fears fueling this problem? Is it my unrealistic expectations or wanting to test my partner to get him to prove or her to prove that they really, really do love me and that I really, really am lovable?
And they'll never leave me. They'll never leave me. They'll never abandon me. I'll never be rejected. I hear this every day. I'll never be rejected. I want proof, David. I'll never be rejected. And I go, well, you can't be rejected. How can you be rejected? And then you see, it's nothing about the relationship. That's such a good thing that you just said. Because when you get down to it, it's not about the relationship. It's about your creating red light feelings about that you might be rejected. That's nothing to do with them. That's to do with you, solely and wholly to do with you. Trying to find out why you believe that you can be abandoned. I don't want to be abandoned. I don't want to be left. I don't want to be lonely. I don't want to live the rest of my life alone. Well, this is all about you. And so what you're doing, if this is you, you're contaminating the relationship because you keep on, as Alex said, setting tests until the person fails a test and then you go, there you are. I always knew it. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, and that's what messes up the ability to view the relationship correctly.
And so we do the checks, we get down to the beliefs, and we say, you know what, I definitely believe I'm in balance here, so therefore there is something wrong with the relationship.
Brilliant.
Now, if we've been in this relationship for a while, or in these types of relationships for a while, i.e. a repeated pattern, where we may have been putting up with bad behavior in the relationship or something going wrong in the relationship, and we've just been keeping quiet about it. How do we now begin to address this?
Oh, well, if you've gone down, as you just said, and you recognize a faulty belief and you change the faulty belief, then with that new vigor, you can now address the situation correctly. So you can talk authentically and truthfully without losing your anger, without shouting, without screaming, without crying. You can now, because you're coming from a position of authenticness, of truthfulness, of love, of peace, and you can address the situation with a partner. And here's the real basic teaching. When you sort it out yourself, and you've got your beliefs right, and your relationship is good with yourself, you should only ever be in a relationship with someone who wants to be in a relationship with you. If someone doesn't want to be in a relationship with you, then they shouldn't be with you, because that relationship is then doomed. That's why before you do that, you have to get that core basic belief right that Alex just explained, because that could be the solution. Perhaps the relationship isn't meant to maintain. And so you have to get yourself right in case that is one of numerous solutions. It could be that your partner is just waiting for you to speak to them correctly without losing your temper, without shouting, without crying, without manipulation. And that could be a good outcome. So you've got to be prepared for all outcomes.
Yeah, because David, I can imagine that if we have been operating in a relationship from ourselves, from a faulty belief system where we are lacking in self-love, we have self-doubt rather than self-love. We're not sure of ourselves. We don't believe we're worthy. We don't believe we can cope without a partner. If we cultivate that sense of self-love, and we've done a video on self-love, and I will put a link to that as well, but if we nurture that within ourselves first, do the work on our core beliefs and get ourselves into a great position, unfortunately for some people, when they then go to authentically address and communicate with their partner, no, these are the boundaries, this is behavior that I think is acceptable and unacceptable, and start to open up that conversation, often for the first time, rather than it resolving the issue and the relationship improving. For some people, actually, their partner wanted things to stay the way they were.
Absolutely.
Because the relationship was built on an imbalance.
Absolutely.
So it's almost like they don't like and they don't want to accept the new you. They preferred the old you, boxed off, kind of curtailed, lacking in self-love, being needy of them, feeling like you're not worthy, etc., etc.
And you're absolutely right. That could be one outcome. That's right. It could be that the relationship will not maintain the change. That could be one outcome, but there could be literally millions of outcomes. And if you focus on that one outcome, you're more likely for that one outcome to happen. And that's why starting this subject, getting the relationship correct with you, and that may take you a few weeks, even a few months, to get that relationship correct with you, that your thinking is authentic and truthful and balanced, and then you can address the situation and you're prepared for any of the multitudes of outcomes. But Alex is right. That could be one outcome, that your partner does not want to change, wants the relationship that you had that wasn't good for you, but it may have been good for them. But if they're not prepared to move and to relate, remember the word, if they're not prepared to relate, then I'm questioning whether you've ever had a relationship. Is this a real relationship? Because surely any relationship has to have some, I use one of Alex's words now, riddle room. It has to have some movement. It has to have some ability that you and your partner can communicate, can talk, can relate, can discuss and solve issues that you both may have. And if one of you can't, then I'm questioning whether you have got a relationship.
I guess the image that comes to my mind, David, when you're talking about this, doing this self-cultivation, self-love practices first, getting the relationship with yourself right first. To my mind, it's almost like you're putting down strong, grounded roots. Yep. Those roots will then mean that you can go and speak to your partner and be open and flexible to see whether the relationship can move and change. And as you say, there are many possible outcomes here.
Many.
One outcome may be that the relationship has to end, but the relationship, if your partner is willing, could evolve and grow and to transform into something even better. But the point is that whatever the outcome, you, through your own self-love and self-nurturing practices, are strongly grounded and rooted, and you can cope and you can flex and you can move with any possible outcome or scenario that you're then presented with.
And you're demonstrating Wu Wei.
Yeah.
As one of my clients that I did with this with a year or so ago said, it was like training for the marathon. It took her, she reckoned, about 6 to 8 weeks to get fit to approach this. And then don't expect your partner, it's taken you 6 to 8 weeks to get to this point, to suddenly change. Your partner's going, it might be like you've just dropped a bomb. They probably thought that everything was going along all right. So you've got to go through your training to get ready to run your marathon. And then, as Alex just explained, you have to practice Wu Wei. The flexibility, the ability, because they'll try and avoid, they'll do all the things that you've been doing, avoid, put it off, say, oh, I don't see a problem, I think you're making things too. And you have to have, and this, please, this is where your sensitivity comes into play. You're always telling me how sensitive you are. This is when you've got yourself balanced, then you can sensitively help your partner. And you're right, this could mean the relationship ending, but it could equally mean the relationship being what it always should have been, what it's designed to be, because now you have two people working together, coming together as a team, trying to resolve your own personal issues. And this is why getting it right with you is the number one thing answer to this question. You've got to stop this self-doubt, this self-sabotaging. These two videos, look at them, ask yourself, am I doing this?
And also, please do watch our video on setting boundaries, how to set and communicate healthy boundaries, because this will really help you with this. Because I know for the first time, when we start to put in place these authentic communication practices with our partner in our relationship, it can feel a little bit awkward, and the inner child and our negative self-talk will come up and say things like to us that, oh, I'm being too hard here. I'm overstepping the mark. These boundaries I'm now expressing, they're too harsh. I'm being unreasonable. Or the flip side, if our inner child is very righteous and demanding, our inner child might say things like, I don't want to lower my standards here. Why should I put up with this? Why should I be more reasonable about this? So it's almost like the two sides of the pendulum, that the inner child will battle against this new authentic regime of communication.
Well, where you started off saying it feels awkward, and it's not a feeling, it is awkward, because it will be awkward, because the awkwardness says you are starting to do something that perhaps you've never done. And so it's going to be a challenge for you. That's why you spend the time on yourself first, 4, 6, 8 weeks, get yourself trained up to do it. And then you are in a position to work your way through that awkwardness, because your partner will find it awkward because they're used to dealing with you in one way. And now all of a sudden you're coming back and you're saying a different answer, but you're saying it differently. You're saying it with sensitivity. Sensitivity does not mean weakness. Sensitivity means you can address the situation with sensitivity, with calmness, with love, and authentic. And that's why the solution to this situation starts with you, which is the greatest thing you can do. You don't even have to tell them you're doing it. You can be mindful when they say something and you create a red light, then do the golden thread. Why did I just create that red light? What was it about what they said? Why did I think that way? I thought that way because, we've done this video lots of times, but that golden thread will really help you.
I want to talk a little bit about dealing with our partner's reactions. So first off, if our partner is comfortable and happy with the way things are, and they don't think there's anything wrong with the relationship, or they don't think there's anything wrong with what they're doing, and then all of a sudden you're coming to them and saying, can we talk about this, please? I'm not feeling great about this because I believe X, Y, and Z, and trying to communicate sensitively. But then your partner kind of gives you the pushback. They start saying things like, you're imagining it, this problem, you're creating it, it's in your mind, you're going crazy. What do we do then? How do we deal with that?
So this is why you have to do the preparatory work before, and you can say, so why do you think I'm going crazy? So what's your view on that? So you do the work that we've been showing you. You learn to deal with that resistance. But if you haven't done the work and they say something, I think the new term is
if they're gaslighting you and making you think, oh, this is all in your head, you're imagining it, you're making it up.
They can't make you think. You see, that's why you've got to do that work first. No one can make you think. Anyway, I can't make you think. No one can make you think. It's what you think. And that's what the golden thread does. What do you believe? Why do you believe it? And that's the key that you've got to work on before you approach anyone else, not even your loving partner, your colleague at work, your boss. This works really well with your boss, is getting yourself right. So when they press the old buttons, you've disconnected the buttons. They press away and you smile and you say, so why do you believe that? That's a funny belief. So why do you believe that? And you can deal with that in a totally different energy and vibration, because you're coming from a much firmer foundation of yourself.
And I guess this comes down to this idea of being grounded and rooted. If you're 100% clear on your position on a matter and you're open to discuss it, but you know where your authentic boundaries are, if someone questions them, then you're less likely to follow them without question. You're less likely to go, oh, well, what I think doesn't matter and I believe what you say. You're less likely to doubt yourself, even if your partner tries to introduce doubts in your mind. You're more rooted and firm and assured with what you believe and why you believe it.
But using your example, you see, if you doubt yourself, you're already doubting yourself. That's the belief. I doubt myself. That's your belief. And then all your partner, your boss, your colleague is doing is kind of confirming.
Yeah, it's like scratching a sore that's already there.
You already think it. They're only confirming what you already. Oh, well, there you are. Look, he thinks it as well. No, you're allowing them to think it. That's why it has to start with you. All the work, look back on all of our videos. This is what we're always saying. These beliefs, these standards, these morals, these principles, whatever you want to call them, they are the filter that everything goes through. Make sure that you believe what you believe. If you believe you're not good enough, then provide the evidence, not the outcome of what happens when you're not good enough. Where's the fountainhead? Where's the seed? If you doubt yourself, where's the evidence of doubt? What's the fountainhead? I can almost guarantee you, if you have self-doubt, it will go back to your childhood. It'll go back to either what one of your parents said or what you thought they were thinking. And that's where the self-doubt comes from. You've got to go and clear that up, because if you don't clear that up, you're open for somebody to press that button.
So when we've cleared it up for ourselves and we have a much greater awareness as to when our inner child is at play or our self-doubts are at play, and when we are actually being and thinking and believing authentically about ourselves and our relationship. So we have a much greater awareness of relationship dynamics. And it's almost like we can see the relationship and our partner through a new clean set of glasses. If we think, no, definitely there's something that my partner's doing that is not authentic, that is not appropriate, that is just not appropriate for how I want to be in this relationship. But we can also have an understanding as to what they're doing is basically because their inner child is at play, because they're emotionally self-sabotaging our relationship because they believe they're not good enough, they're unlovable, or they're not going to be able to cope without me. So we can, through our understanding of ourselves, we can sensitively and compassionately also understand their problems and their issues and where their behavior is coming from. How do we deal with that? Because we're sensitive, compassionate, caring people. We want to give people the benefit of the doubt. We want to, if our partner is saying, oh, I know why I'm doing this, I'm really sorry, but then they go back to doing it. How do we work with that?
So if you cleared your filter and you're looking at the situation correct, so what I always say to you, you cannot change anyone else's beliefs. I can't change your beliefs. I can speak to you, I can answer your questions. I can't change your beliefs. You can't change their beliefs. But what you can do through the new filter, you can work with them. You can harmonize with them. They're not pressing your buttons. You can point it out to them. And the best thing that you can do is to be inspirational. They can see you changing. They can see you enjoying life. They can see you getting on with all the things that you've always wanted to do. And they see themselves being left behind. And that is the best opportunity for them to say, can I have a bit of that? Can I change? But if the answer to your question is, can I change them? No, you can't. I can't change you. I can't change Alex. Our beliefs are our own, and we have to be responsible and take ownership of those beliefs. One of the most important things I try and say in each video, what do you believe? Why do you believe it? Would you teach that to your child? Would you start a YouTube channel telling everybody they should follow your beliefs? These are the important questions. Get your house in order, and then you can deal with the relationship. I'm not saying this is going to be easy. I'm not saying it always will work out right. That's one of the outcomes. It could work out perfectly, much better than what you expected. Could work out worse. But at least you'll be in the position of authenticity and in your wu-wei flow.
And so going back to this idea of what do we do when our partner won't change, I guess the tendency is we must avoid being an emotional crutch.
Absolutely.
We must avoid being the one who reassures them all the time and tells them they're okay, they're unlovable, they're good enough. Because if we have that dynamic set up where they are always looking to us for validation and we keep giving it to them, it's an imbalanced relationship.
Well, it's not a relationship. You've gone back to what I said at the beginning. Now you are the emotional carer.
Yeah.
That's a caring relationship. It's a carer relationship where I talked at the beginning is you got a carer looking after your emotions. You don't build a relationship looking after their emotions.
Great. Thank you, David. Well, I really hope that has answered the question, am I in an unhealthy relationship or not? how to dig deep and find that answer for yourself, and then what you can do about it. As I said, we've got those extra resources on creating and setting boundaries, on understanding the practice of self-love, understanding more about codependent relationships. I will also put a link in the video description below to our love and relationships playlist, which has lots more information and lots more teachings to help you on this subject. Do take care, and if you want to work with David one-to-one on any of the topics we've talked about, he works with people all over the world by video call. I will put some more information below on that. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We produce new videos every week, and we'd love to have you with us. Bye-bye.